Welcome to another edition of Speak Harmony Show. So we are live on YouTube Tuesdays at 7 through 8 p.m. And this episode is brought to you by our sponsor, APAP Media, a photo and production full-service media company specializing in podcasting, multi-camera recording, video and live streaming services. You may contact them at info@apapmedia.com. That's A as in action, P as in production, A as in always, P as in perfection. That's info@apapmedia.com. Now, on to another edition of What's Happening Today? What's in today, Sister Sharon?
All right, so you know.
I am Sharon Thompson, your host.
And Dr. Sharon Reid, the Heart Lady. We are here to continue to entertain you through Speak Harmony. So, the National Day is Another Look Unlimited Day. So, that's a fancy way of saying we had spring cleaning, now it's fall cleaning. So now it's really about observing the day. It's talking about taking a look around at your home and what things you need to get rid of, and thinking about staying green, eco-friendly. Okay, so you got things that you need to throw away that you've accumulated since spring cleaning?
Girl, I've been cleaning. I've been spring cleaning all summer long.
So now you got a fall clean.
Oh yeah, it's a fall. So now fall cleaning.
That is fall
adding
cleaning.
to what I don't want to. Cleaning and cleaning and more cleaning. My goodness. And so, is there something else going on? I mean, today is what?
Oh,
International
yes.
something else? What
Well,
is
not
that?
international, but maybe some people might want to know that it's Joe Biden's birthday today.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
If it's not on the
yeah.
news, I'm not much of a news watcher, but I did know that it was his birthday today.
Well,
So-
happy birthday to our former president.
And my daughter's birthday was yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday. Yeah, well, there are quite a
So
few
yeah,
people,
we got
so
the Virgos.
shout out.
going
Yeah,
on.
we got a lot of them because my niece's birthday was yesterday. Wayne's niece, Raquel, and have another birthday tomorrow, the day after the 4th. So there are quite a few birthdays.
That's right. All right.
So we don't want to delay you because we've got a fun-filled evening for you
Oh,
this
yeah.
evening. When I tell you we've got an amazing, amazing lady sitting here with us, Sister Sharon,
Yep.
full, packed with punches. So without delay, I'm going to introduce you to attorney Patricia Mackenzie Edwards. She's the founder of Synergy Law and Mediation LLC, where she's a dedicated and she helps families build their security, preserve wealth. And I'll say that again, preserve wealth and create peace of mind through thoughtful estate and legacy planning. She works closely with clients to design wills, trusts, power of attorney, and other vital tools that ensure their wishes are honored and their loved ones are cared for. Patricia also brings to you a unique perspective as a skilled mediator, guiding families through conflict with dignity and collaboration so they can reach resolutions that protect relationships as well as legal rights. And all that says is she cares about you folks. I mean, about what happens when we say we have loved ones. And if you really love your loved ones like we call them, we protect them and we give them less things to worry about.
Correct.
That's where you come in.
That's right.
So welcome to Speak Harmony, my
Thank
sister.
you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So I would advise the audience to get their pen and paper out.
Absolutely.
Or make sure they save this video because I am sure that you will be referring back to these notes. So,
Oh my goodness.
oh yeah, we put the pressure on.
I see.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
So, Attorney Patricia, what inspired you to pursue a career in law and particularly the specialty? Because, there's all type of lawyers. So what came out of your heart to do this specifically?
Right. So I probably always wanted to be an attorney, probably since I was a teenager. And I was always intrigued by the notion that an attorney could help people navigate life's challenges, the various changes, issues that come up, conflicts that arise. And so I wanted to help my community navigate those challenges. And after I litigated family law, immigration for over 15 years, not at the same time necessarily, but sometimes they did overlap. And I decided mediation and arbitration were next. And then to add to that, I said, estate planning, my community needs estate planning.
Yes, we do.
So I decided to start helping folks with that.
I'm glad you said that because you said our community needs that.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time because just a few days ago we were out of state. We were actually in Texas and we were talking about the same thing. Our community.
We do.
Our
We
community,
need it.
please.
We don't see the importance of it because
No.
we have less. And so it's not just about wealth, it's also about protecting the little you do have,
Yeah.
right? And making sure that it passes to who you want it to pass to, or that it's, distributed the way you want it distributed, or protected for a young child. There's so many different considerations.
Because I'm sure, like myself and Sharon, we're just tired of seeing the GoFundMes for services or for education or
Or for
the
burial.
bickering, the burials and the bickering who should have this estate and who should
Correct.
be the power of that and who can say what. It's a lot. It's
It
a
is
lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
And not only is it a lot to see that conflict, it's also a lot of grief, and then
On
they're
top of that.
fighting.
Yeah.
Right?
Trauma.
So the grief is there, and then they're having to fight because clear instructions weren't laid out, proper documents weren't executed.
Yeah.
But you really said our community, we're not prepared. And what would you say are some of the reasons why we refuse to even approach that question of making arrangements? Because this is the truth, and this is just my personal experience. The probate court is nowhere that you want to send somebody that you quote unquote love to visit. Because
That's right.
you're looking at her, I've been there. And so when my father passed, because I approached him many moons ago, Dad, make some final arrangements. And he says, I'm not trying to send myself to an early grave. And I was like, Dad, it has nothing to do with an early grave. It means that when that time comes, whenever, 20, 30, 40 years from now, it means that we don't have to be running around like headless chickens or fighting, which is
Right.
what happens when you don't make proper arrangements for your loved ones.
Yeah. And even struggling, if you're the only one struggling, what are their best wishes, right?
Right.
Right.
So you're in grief, and
So-
then you're having to.
I do think that part of it is I don't really want to choose because I don't want to choose. I don't want to decide, right? And then another part of it is I never saw anybody do it growing up, right?
Right.
Nobody in my family even had anything to give away. So I don't really need the will. There are a lot of different mindsets, I think.
Yeah.
The most common one I hear is, I don't have anything. But you might. There's one thing that I want to make clear. If you have children,
Yeah.
you have something that needs to be protected. It's the children. That's first. After that, maybe assets, fine. But even your bank account, as small as it is, cannot be accessed without the proper documents and a probate court issuing testamentary letters or letters of administration if there is no will. And then, of course, I usually talk to my clients about how to avoid probate altogether. So, it's I think it's a couple of different mindsets playing out there. And I'm really just trying to educate people. Just please have the conversation.
Yeah.
So
it starts with the conversation.
Yes,
And
have
before
the
they're
conversation.
sick.
Right. Before you're sick, before Alzheimer's and dementia creeps in,
Yeah.
before the stroke and you can't speak.
Yeah.
all of those things.
The power of attorney, the
Yeah.
health proxies,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the conversation and that I try to have with people. It's also not just about when you die, it's also about while you're living.
While you're living.
You need to have these documents because you could leave tonight and something happens to each of us.
Right.
You got to have who's going to make your medical decisions, who's
That's
going to
right.
make your financial
Financial, of
decisions
course.
if you're in a rehab or, handle your affairs while you're in a rehab for 6 months. So there's so many considerations and conversations that need
So I'm
to
going
be
to play
had.
devil's advocate right there. Age, because we tend to
That's a good
we
one.
tend
Sharon.
we tend to go with the seniors, the older folks. But
Right.
what you just said something that clicked in my head. At 20 years old, okay,
You might not need a will, but
You
you,
might-
but you do need a healthcare directive
That's
and you do need a power of attorney.
attorney.
correct.
And parents with children going off to college, they can't access their medical records anymore. They
That's
can't
right.
go to the bank and get their money out anymore unless their names are still on the accounts. But you won't know,
That's
you
right.
don't know, right?
Yeah.
So they need to at least have that leaving.
Yeah.
There's so many times you hear of students having car accidents on the way home from college or on the way to college. And
Yeah. My
You
daughter
said
just
to college.
experienced. Yeah.
From
To or
college, but
from?
guess what? Even in high school, because
Correct.
we
If they're
had- so
18,
they're
right?
driving.
Well, in the high
no, before
school-
that, they're driving. So what's happening is that, it's just a whole dynamic. I mean,
Right.
the parents may be separated. There's a whole lot of,
True.
nuances, and so.
that's true.
Parents are not even together. I mean, they're parenting. You're co-parenting, and so
That's true.
it is so critical to have these
Documents.
talks, but have these talks and these documents.
Correct.
Have these talks with even your teenage children. I mean, as young as they are, start telling them and tell them where you have stuff, because even in the house,
Yeah.
Yes.
you're talking to your children and you're saying once you start driving, you get to this age, how early would you say you would place that onus on your children? I mean, you would say, well, you know what, my child is 16, but I'm a single parent, or whatever, and they're driving now. So what if something happens to you? You're the parent, okay? That you're all they have. Then what? Because they're not 18 yet.
Correct. So
So-
that's where I have a conversation with parents about designating a guardian inside of their wills and having the guardian have knowledge of that, making sure the child has that information on them. Otherwise, the police are not going to know who to call, and then they'll call the Department of Family and Children Services, and they'll at least spend a night or two until someone's contacted,
Yeah.
correct, or until it's sorted out. But the guardian should know there should be an emergency contact information somewhere visible for the cops, in the car, on the person, whatever. So we talk about designating guardians
Yeah.
in our estate planning when you have children under the age of 18. That's critical. Now, something that you mentioned earlier about high school students. So that's the other thing, is that high school students, a lot of times in their final year of high school, they're turning 18,
yes. Right.
either before or during, right?
Right.
Sometimes after, but really needs to be having the conversation during that time about, some of these things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So where do they go to start?
They call and make an appointment with me. I usually waive the fee for my initial planning session as long as the intake form is complete. And once the intake form is complete, we have a full 1 hour session on Zoom, and I educate during that session. If you want to move forward, then we go from there. But yeah, answer questions. I also have workshops every now and again. I have one coming up on the 14th of September.
And we'll have your information thrown up on that
Definitely.
screen so
Definitely.
people could get in touch with you,
Yes.
because these are critical
Yeah, that
things.
is
as
critical,
much as
because
we
I have
feel. Yeah.
grandchildren that are that age, and I didn't know or think about the guardianship. If something happened, the mother travels. Both of my daughters, well, they all travel quite a
Right.
bit, and one has a 16-year-old, the other one has 18 and a 20-year-old, and I don't think they had that talk. But what I also wanted to mention before you ask your next question, Sharon, is that a lot of people are, or children and or parents don't know how to approach even the conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
And I find it easier when you know or hear someone that has passed. It's an easier time to ease on. If that ever happened to me,
Right.
this is what I would want. Or, my mother, when she was alive, she, we used to laugh because she would call and she says, now remember, my papers are here. I said, yes, Mom, we know where your papers are. The papers are here if anything to happen. So she would do that regularly, and my children laugh when I say, okay, this is where our papers are. I was like, okay.
That's important.
And to have a key, make sure you have the key
Correct.
put up and so forth if the children don't live with you.
Correct.
Yeah, I really thank you for that information.
Absolutely. So the plan itself is great, but how you keep it and whether or not someone knows where it is another thing,
Yeah.
right? If you keep it in a safe deposit box, you need to make sure someone else can access the safe deposit box. Otherwise, we have to go to the probate court to get permission to enter the safe deposit
And that's what you were
box.
saying was a hassle.
Yeah, so it's all of those things, but being organized and keeping all your documents together, whether it be a debt that you owe or the title for something that you own, a copy of all of your life should be in one place so that when whoever you've designated as your executor or your children can pick it up and say, okay, this is how she wanted to be buried. This is the services. This is how we're going to pay for it. This is what she wants. She wants the house to go here. And it's all there. And then, she only owed this amount on this credit card. So we can go ahead and pay for that.
Yeah.
All of those things. So.
Yeah, so which takes us to estate planning, which we know feels very overwhelming for families. So what are the first steps that you recommend?
So the first step, I tailor my recommendation to each client. But if you want to avoid probate, we talk about what a revocable living trust is. It's basically a will, but it does a little bit more than that because it's active during your life. You can move property in, property out. It has tax protections, but that may not matter as much as just staying out of probate court, especially in Georgia, because of there's no death tax in Georgia, right? So trusts were traditionally a tax protection instrument. The threshold for the federal estate tax is like $12+ million. Most people's estate are not really in that category, right?
Right.
So we evaluate, determine where you fall and what protections you might need. If you're married with young children, I might have a different recommendation than if you're married with older children, or if you have children who have problems with addiction. The first thing is really the conversation.
And mental health then as
and
well.
mental health, correct.
Yeah. So if you have a child, just to interrupt you real quick, so if you have a child who has mental health issues, then you need another guardian for that?
Potentially. It depends, right? So not necessarily. If you have a child under 18 who has severe mental health issues that you feel like you need to have someone specific designated as a guardian for that child, you can do that. Or if it's the same person for all the children together, they're more than one. That's a conversation we have. What is the mental health issue? How do you deal with it? We have like a real conversation, real life.
Wow.
How is that dealt with? And then I sort of determine what you might need, because you might need a special needs trust, which I don't do. But I can talk to you about that and refer you to someone who does that, right? Because it's very, very niche. That
I didn't even
type
know
of
that.
trust.
Did you?
No.
Yeah.
I'm learning because my head is
So-
exploding just hearing
But if
that
you have a
part.
child who has, an adult child who has a history of addiction, but they're clean now, and you are going to include them, then we can talk about guidelines for distribution for that child.
Yes.
That's either incentivized or just strict. And then when you're selecting a trustee for that child's trust, right? Then you have to think about who's going to be strong enough to
Execute.
follow your guidelines, right? So these are all the conversations that we have, lots of different clauses and
I can see
protections.
just
And a
even
lot of
in that
emotions,
planning on the emotions, because if you have multiple
Oh, yeah.
children, you may think that it goes to the eldest, but if the eldest is not the most responsible, then it goes down the line, and then I can see issues with that. So
Right. And I
it's
might say to you, based on our conversation, I don't think that person is who you should select as a
because
trustee.
you do an in-depth interview on.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I also have this family law experience that helps me understand people and read between the lines.
Yes.
And so I can tell when, based on your hesitation,
Right.
that it might not work.
Right.
And I might say to you, is there someone else? Or are you sure that this person will be strong enough when this person comes crying and saying with the story, are they going to be able to read through the story? So we have those real conversations.
Yeah, and I think that her background as a mediation that really supports if there are arguments between the family members, particularly if it's multiple children.
Well, so on the planning side, I don't get involved in the family arguments.
Okay.
In the administration side, if I think it's going to be a fight, I don't work on it because that's litigation, and I don't want to litigate anymore.
So you refer for
So I
litigation.
refer those out.
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
Right. But I can usually tell just by reading a short summary of what they want that it's going to be a fight. 'Cause if they're not on the same page at the time of death, they're probably not going to be on the same page when the money starts dividing. Or if someone's gone in and removed money from the estate before they've even probated, clean fight, not my cup of tea. So it's a little different. On the planning side, I'm probably not fighting because it's mom or a mom and dad or
And that's
grandma
their
and grandpa, and it's their decision, and I'm writing it up,
Right.
and I'm making sure it's what they want, and then I see them execute it. I follow up with my clients usually yearly, depending on what package they purchase, and talk to them. If there are any changes, then we talk about whether we need to amend, restate, update, whatever, that type of thing. But if they're going to litigate a probate, I do handle probate. But if it's going to be a fight, I don't handle those. Yeah.
Got it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Very
That's
complex.
interesting. Yeah, it is, and it is, and to Sharon's point, she says because she mentioned the oldest, but the oldest is not necessarily the most responsible. I mean,
Not
the
all the
onus
time.
is usually on the oldest, but it's really so you have to, as a parent, though, weigh the options. You have to know, and
And it
really,
doesn't have to be a child.
exactly
Right. And there are so many different roles in an estate plan. We're talking, you're the initial trustee for your own trust. And then when you become incapacitated, you might want to select a different incapacity trustee versus who does the distribution upon your death, right? Then you're selecting a power of attorney, which is sort of the same as an incapacity trustee, but can be different.
Right.
They can go and handle certain things like real estate transactions or going to the bank for you, things like that. Then the healthcare directive,
Right.
who's making the terminal medical decisions kind of thing. So there's so many decisions that you pick and choose because your adult, the first child of 5 might be okay to handle the business, but it's going to be a wreck to make the medical decisions, right?
Exactly.
Or even to be your incapacity trustee
Right.
kind of thing. So you got to know your children.
So let me throw a wrench in this one then. How murky does it get if the difference between being legally married and living together for X amount? I see your expression.
In the state of Georgia, there is no common law marriage as of, I believe, July 1st, 1996.
Okay.
So living together has zero effect. It's all about how the property's titled. So if you're just living together and you own a house together and it's in both your names, then when one of you passes away, the estate can demand that the property be partitioned.
Yeah.
Of course.
If you're married, that's a different thing, and
Right.
it's going to depend on what you have in your estate plan. Well, if you have an estate plan And then if you do, then what's in the estate plan as far as what's supposed to happen to the house kind of thing, right? So,
Yeah. And if you have children, then it's going to default to the children. If you're common law.
If you're living together and you don't have an estate plan, that person doesn't have any claim to your estate.
Right.
Right.
But would it
Under the
default to
law.
the children if the parents are? If
Like the next of kin would be
Right.
the children.
It would be heirs at law. It would be,
okay.
it would be your heirs at law, which would be your
Yeah.
children.
I really wanted to bring that out because there are so many couples that
True.
live together 10, 20, 30 years and they think that they can. So could they even leave that information in a trust?
So that would be 2 individual trusts though, right? Not, that's a whole nother complex conversation. I'm not even sure I would meet with them together because they're not legally married.
Right, because you're not legally. Right,
Correct.
of course.
And even my married couples sign a waiver, but we represent married couples as estate planning attorneys because we're just planning, right?
Yeah.
But in that situation, there would definitely be a conflict that could be waived. I mean, I suppose they could waive it if they wanted to, but very hard to control that because in a married couple estate planning, a lot of times they're choosing to do a joint plan where they're basically doing the same thing when the second spouse passes.
Right.
It's going the same places, being distributed the way that they've both decided, correct?
Correct.
Except maybe 1 or 2 things might get distributed when one spouse goes, right? And then everything else is when the second spouse goes, kind of thing.
Right.
In that scenario that you're mentioning, there's no way for one person to control the other person's estate. You can't write a joint, no.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very complicated.
It is, and then as you say that, it just collects that there's another dynamic where that is where families are concerned, blended families, because that's
That's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
That's a whole nother
That's right.
thing.
You see what I'm saying? Because
Yes.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
right now, I mean, I know of a situation, and we know of so many where with the blended family,
Yeah.
the step father says, well, I don't have any children. So my stuff goes to my nieces and nephews. And here it is, the wife is saying, well, I have 3 children. And so my stuff, my portion, and I'm like, wow, my portion goes to my children or my grandchildren if the children are deceased, God forbid, or my nieces and nephews or my godchildren or
Right.
whatever.
And so in
you
that case, we might end up doing 3 different trusts, right? Depending on how they've owned the property, when they acquired marital property. There's a whole nother complex conversation in a blended family.
Wow.
I'm telling
So
you,
it really means that you have to have this conversation
You do.
with a specialty lawyer, not just not a real
Correct.
estate lawyer.
No.
But,
yes, with
yeah.
an estate planning attorney,
Yeah.
someone who understands the dynamics, but also the law, right? To understand how those things might impact. Because one person might have an alimony obligation that can claim against the estate, and then there's child support obligations, and then there's all these
my
complexities
goodness.
that really
Yes.
have to be considered in a blended family scenario. Correct.
So break down, and yes, look into that camera, because guess what? I want you to share with the folks listening, watching. There are people who still say stuff like, all I have to do is get a will done.
Yeah.
And then people over here who understand a little bit more, they're a little more educated on that, in that space, they will say, well, I would rather do a living will. And then over here, another person will say, well, I'm going to do a trust.
Yeah. The difference.
There's a difference, and so break that down to the layman
Thank you
that's
for that.
watching.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
because there's a will, there's a trust, there's a living will.
Yeah. And they
It's a
say trusts
difference.
are so expensive, so they won't do that.
Correct.
So if you could, yeah.
So the living will, advanced healthcare directive, and the power of attorney, those are documents that really govern how you want your agents to make decisions for you during your life if you are either have a terminal illness, or you're suffering some form of incapacity where you're unable to make decisions for yourself. unable to conduct business for yourself. The living will and the advanced healthcare directive can sometimes conflict as far as, whether you want food and nutrition by a tube or things like that. But it's really a guide on medical decisions when you are terminal or unconscious, that kind of thing. A will is your final wishes. It's, often referred to as your last will and testament. We still execute one in trust-based planning just to make sure, just in case there was something that wasn't placed in your trust. But the will has to be probated. It has to, in order for the will for your wishes to be granted after your death, someone has to take that will to a probate court and ask for testamentary letters, which can take months. And then you get the testamentary letters and you go to a bank and you go to a retirement company and you go to the life insurance company, whatever the case may be. And then you can administer that estate. The trust is it's a revocable living trust, which means that you can rewrite it as many times as you choose to during your lifetime. You can hold property in the title of the trust during your lifetime. It can act as, we can put different vehicles in there to set up lifetime trusts for your children. So when you pass, you have $1 million life insurance policy. You want it to come into a trust equally for the children. So it comes in, that trustee then manages these lifetime trusts for the children, and you can say whether or not the children can give that to who they can pass it on to if they pass away. So that document is living and breathing until you die. If it's a joint revocable living trust, it's living and breathing until the second spouse dies, right? And then it becomes irrevocable, but no probate. The trustee takes the document, and so long as all of the assets are either payable on death to the trust, are titled in the name of the trust, the legal name of the trust, or in some form or fashion comes into the trust without the need for any extra steps, then the trustee can simply just open up the trust document, and with the help, because a lot of times some of these are legal documents, right?
Yeah.
So, execute the documents necessary to transfer property, can list a house for sale, can go and get money out of a retirement account or things like that. Wow. So those are the key differences, I think.
Okay, and was a living will and irrevocable trust a will? Someone, for example, there's a lawsuit. Someone's suing the estate. What's protected? Because as far as a will is concerned, and a trust, speak to that a little bit.
So it depends, right? It depends on how the trust is structured, what the assets are, that type of thing. It depends. So what they can't do is they can't reach in and take what's in the trust, but they can, the estate can still be liable, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Based on the total value of what's in the trust.
Correct.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends.
But it
doesn't.
More protected.
It's more.
Is that considered
Your
more
assets
protected
are
than-
more protected,
than-
and it is more private for sure. Because when you file a probate, the entire will is public,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So if it's listing assets, the whole thing
It's
is out there.
Wow.
If you're required to do an inventory, that inventory is out there. The annual accounting is out there. When you close out the estate, it's out
That's out
there.
there too.
You
Wow.
know
It is.
they know who you paid it to. Of
course.
Who
So,
you
yeah.
paid what to.
So we need to have the conversation.
You do.
And I think this is such an interesting topic. We're really asking our viewers and listeners to give us the questions.
Yes.
Let's have some engagement. There may be something really that you need to know. So go ahead and ask the questions. We're ready
And
for
we've
you.
got-
Because we're going to get ready to switch on to the second half, which you're still going to need your pen and paper for.
Yes. Okay, so it says here, interesting conversation. This is an essential Okay, I can hardly see it. It says this is an essential. Okay, yes, it is.
This is
It's
an
essential.
that will be explored at Word of Life.
Oh, I love it, Sharika. So yeah, you know what? It's funny because they're having a
Is that
grow.
an invitation? I think
you
that's
know-
an invitation.
Yeah, sounds like an
Yes,
invitation and
she's
a plug there.
They're having, and I like that their church is so proactive. Her pastor, this is another young lady, her pastor was here last week, and they're doing a grow conference, which is the same thing. They're having attorneys and accountants and different people from different
very
facets
good.
of life
So it's,
to
yeah,
help their congregation. I mean, this is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Just like in schools, we're supposed to be educating
Educating.
the kids about financial literacy
Right.
because
Yeah.
that's something, again, it's taboo in our community. You know, when you talk about pre-planning, I got exposed to it just by default about 30-ish years ago. But that was just by default, only because I happened upon it.
Yeah.
And when I heard pre-planning, I ran to my father, like I said, and I said, Dad, why don't you do this? And again, a Caribbean man, he looked
Yeah,
at
try
me.
to kill me off already.
Oh my God.
Oh,
And
it's an
so-
affront
Yeah.
to have that
Yeah, it
conversation.
is.
Oh my
It is.
goodness, he
Yes.
was
Yeah.
like pushing back. And sadly, when it came down to it, it's really crazy because his personal attorney, kind of refused to come by when he was on his deathbed because he realized, like you said, Attorney Patricia, guess what? He smelled trouble. And he was like, I'm sorry,
off.
but I can't do that right now. It's too late.
Well, it was, yeah. There comes a time when it's just a little too late to, and so as an attorney, you kind of have to decide, whether or not the person has the capacity to enter into these into a will, and select an agent, decide how they want their property to be distributed. You have to evaluate whether or not the capacity exists at that time, and so maybe that's what he did.
He did. He did. He literally said to me, when I called him up and I says, hey, and he just said, he's just not mentally, he's not capable. I mean, he's focused on, what's next.
Right.
I mean, and that's just it. But these are the times, and we don't get to determine when that time is because, the doctors determine that. I mean, they will say, well, they're capable or they're really not. And so it could be where children are coercing their parents, because they go to all day
does.
long at the
Happens all the
nursing
time.
homes.
Yeah.
They're coerced. So they go to visit and they bring an extra bunch of flowers to say, hey, Mom, I love you.
And sign these papers.
Yes, can you just go ahead and, whatever, I'm going to take you out. I brought you dinner, I brought you lunch, whatever. And so we know these things happen. And again, as parents, you know your children.
Yeah.
You know your children. And so, again, these are hard topics, but they're necessary topics.
Necessary.
They are
Very,
so necessary
very
in our
important.
community. I thank you. I mean, I so applaud churches, institutions that are not, they're bold enough to take the steps to say, you know what, I'm
Must
going to
have the
educate.
conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, and the caring,
Yes.
because lawyers do get a bad rap.
We do.
Are you kidding me?
Right? Yeah, so
But your
those
time
of
is
us
so important. I
caring
mean,
and
for you to take the
educating, we
time
really
out.
appreciate
Yes, we appreciate
that.
you doing
Yeah.
No problem.
And
My
then
pleasure.
we have to vet who we speak to as well, right?
Oh my God.
She's already vetted. You heard it here.
Yes.
No, but I'm saying that some people just don't know, and
Yeah.
people will go to any type of lawyer. Maybe some of those online lawyers may not be the best ones to consult with.
This is also not something that you want to just go and buy a document.
Yes, because everything is online now,
that.
and I
Speak
read
to
it
that,
online. I
please.
read
Yes.
the trust. I read the will, and I'll just go to any notary, and it gets signed, and that's it. And I'm feeling that
Not a
there's a
good
lot of
idea.
loopholes in that as
Not
well.
a good idea. Lots of decisions to be made that can't you can't just buy a document.
Yes. So, what's the most rewarding aspect of just into estate planning? Before we're going to transition folks into immigration, but we're going to ask you that.
So, I already thought it was a more peaceful practice area, right? But what I wasn't prepared for was literally the peace of mind that it brings to my clients once they have their plan in place.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because they're not worried about it anymore.
Yes.
Right?
Set it and forget it.
Yes, especially in the complex cases where there's, blended families or they have a special needs child or something, even though I don't do that. I don't do special needs trust, but I can usually talk with them and refer them on. But just getting them to the point where they have a plan in place and they express that they have such peace of mind from that. And that's been really rewarding.
Well, when we come back because we're going to take a quick break, we're going to go to a commercial break, but when we get back, before you transition to immigration, we have just 2 more questions for you. So we're going to go ahead and take a break right now, commercial break. Wow, this is interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was very interesting.
Stage. And so we're back. Thank you. We're going to dive again a little bit more into mediation because it says, want to find out, is there any success stories where mediation made a significant difference in with your clients? Is there any that you can point to?
When I practiced, when I litigated, because I still practice, but when I litigated, I resolved probably 90% of my cases in mediation. It's a process that I prep my clients for from the first conversation. Okay. So most of my cases resolved that way or very shortly thereafter because I sell my clients the idea that going to court is actually more traumatic. It's not, it costs a lot more. So that's number one. But the emotional cost is it lasts way longer than the money, than the loss of money. And so I talk to them about that. Now, it doesn't always work. And sometimes we have legal arguments that cannot be resolved outside of going in front of a judge. And I get that. But for me, two of the most rewarding cases that I settled that I can think of right now, because they were, if they were settling or if they were resolving a mediation, it was rewarding in of itself. But one was several years ago. I had a client that had suffered domestic violence for a very long time in a marriage. And she was unrepresented for a while in the divorce. And then I came in to help her and found some assets that he didn't want to share. And I was able to get her right portion of those assets. And I think the effect of that for her was transformative, right? Wow. And so that was very rewarding. Another case I had where there were some very, very sensitive details at the root of the divorce that they were not harmful to my client per se, but they were harmful to my client, going to be harmful to her forever. I mean, it was already harmful because of what the details were. And so we were able to get that case resolved at mediation. And I think that was one of the best things that could have happened for that case. So it's a process that I completely believe in.
Oh, thank you for that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So can you talk to us a little bit now, the hot spot, which is going on.
Hot topic.
Yeah, hot topic here. Talk about hot topics, right? So I have a friend of mine who's afraid to go to any Caribbean parties because she's afraid that she may be raided by ICE or any other Caribbean association type events. So what do you think about that?
So I think that you cannot live your life in fear.
Hello. Yes.
Right? Especially if you have nothing to be afraid
Yes.
of. And I'm not really sure why we would think that going, still, we have to continue to live our lives. I don't personally believe that ICE is targeting people who have papers. I think they're targeting people who they know don't have papers. So or have a legal status, in the United States. And while I understand that there's concern because of everything that's in the media, I think that we have to be careful not to let it rule us, rule our lives, right?
Yeah, I think the thought is that how do we know if everyone is straight? How do we know if they're going to come in and raid? We just don't, right?
We just don't.
And we just have to live.
But you still have to live. I mean, they could come here right now. It's you just have to continue to live. What I say is just make sure that your documents are up to date, make sure your driver's licenses are renewed. If you have passports, you keep a copy on you, not the real thing, put that up safely, but keep a copy somewhere, in your car, in your wallet, whatever. But if you don't know. Yeah. We've never known. So, if the other
what are the
person
most interesting things that you are coming across with immigration law?
Well, so I try to stay out of. So for over 10 years, I did immigration deportation defense.
Yes.
And nowadays, I mostly cover hearings for my colleagues who need coverage in courts. I don't really have any clients that are in deportation proceedings, but that's by design. Again, moving towards my more peaceful existence. But the things that are being reported are actually happening. People, their cases are getting either dismissed or whatever the case may be, and they step outside and they're detained, So, but again, I don't believe that it's random. I think they know who's coming in court that day, and they know who they're wanting to do that with. So there's definitely, no one should be going to court unrepresented, though. That's not smart, and you should not wait until the week before your hearing to go try to hire an attorney. It's unfair to the attorney. It's also not helpful to your case because immigration court has deadlines. Things have to be filed by the deadlines before the hearing, deadlines after the hearing, and the attorneys need time to prepare. It's not as simple as, it's not just showing up, that counts. So, but no one should be going to court unrepresented for immigration proceedings, no matter if you think your case is simple.
So what I've read, and you can steer me in that direction, since while we're on this immigration topic, based on what I've read, it would be advisable to not seek an immigration attorney, but more of a civil attorney, a civil rights attorney, because what they're saying is, if you're, and I don't know, it sounds like entanglement to me, and I'm like, what is this? Yeah.
Well, I could see how there could be an argument for that. I just don't know that that's necessary in every single case. I am not a civil rights attorney, so I have no concept of how to really represent someone in these different types of civil rights actions. I understand them at a very, very, very basic level. But I think before you decide that your rights have been violated, then you really need to understand the immigration laws of this country. And you don't really have any rights until you are legal here.
Oh, right.
So that's the problem. I think you are still entitled to some due process, right? So if you're talking about a violation of due process, potentially, but it's also not a criminal court. So there's the argument of which constitutional amendment really applies in immigration proceedings. So but I am in the minority in that theory. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Interesting, because I've heard, you see, this is what I'm telling people. AI has its place. I'm not denouncing AI and GPT chat and all the chats and whatever, the chatter and all the political groups and whatever it is. But you know what? We have to know what we know. And when we want information, we've got to go to the professionals. We've got to the source.
yeah.
Go
And
to the source.
I want to be clear. There is relief to be sought in immigration courts. Whether it's going to be granted, that's a different story. But there are things that you can do to defend your deportation proceedings. Not everyone has something that is a very limited number of things that you can, potentially qualify for. But you're just not automatically entitled to the things, right?
Yeah.
So you have to qualify for the things and pay fees and follow the procedure and all those things.
Yeah.
So
you have to be mindful of your status, or you will get exactly what you don't
and
want, right?
You need to seek counsel.
Counsel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Period. The immigration laws are dense, right? And they have been, depending on when you got here or, all those things and how old you were when this status changed and et cetera. I mean, it's very dense.
A lot of variables.
Intricate.
Yeah.
Correct. You can't just, it's not simple. So I don't know if you really need a civil rights attorney. I think that's on a case-by-case basis.
Of course.
So if you need someone, I think there are some attorneys now who are focused on criminal, civil rights, and immigration, and I think they go together.
Yeah, because
Yes.
Because
this
I
is
think
what's
that
happening today. It makes sense.
at the local level, there's potentially, violations that might occur that you might need to address that will flow into deportation proceedings in some respects. So I think there's some value to it.
Correct.
It's just not blanket.
It's not.
So let's go
there
to a
you have
pleasant
it.
part.
Yes.
Being named among Georgia Trend's legal elite is a major honor.
Thank you.
So what does that recognition mean to you, personally and professionally?
So I think that was really, I think maybe that came in my 14th year of practice or coming up on 15 years. And I think it was just validation for, my focus has always been on practicing ethically, being amicable as much as I possibly could, being professional with my colleagues and with judges and so forth. And I thought that was a recognition of that, and I really appreciated that honor. Thank you.
And we're winding down. We're really winding down. So there are potentials. I mean, we've got a lot of young ones out there who are heading in that direction. They want to be attorneys. They want to be legal advisors, whatever you call it. I mean, everybody is in it. What advice would you give to young lawyers who want to pursue a career in mediation and family law? What would you say to them if you were?
So if you've already, gone to law school and studied and passed the bar and you're embarking on your career, if you want to pursue family law, I would just tell you this. You want to make sure that your foundational relationships are nurtured, and I'm talking about your family and your core friends. You don't want to forget them. You don't want to spend too much time away from them. You're going to need them. You need the balance. You want to build your knowledge of the law. No, you do not know everything. I have a mentee. I have a mentee now. He just graduated law school, and I told him when he started law school, hey, you don't know everything, even though you've been working with me for a couple of years. And now he's starting his job, and he's like, yeah, I don't know everything. I'm like, you don't know everything. Yeah. The law is a life of learning. Yeah. And so you have to be open to that, but you also need to make sure that you're finding balance in what you do so that you can prevent burnout.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
The law is always evolving.
Always evolving.
Yeah,
Of course.
that's exactly right. So have you had any challenges as a woman in law?
Of course. Of course, it's not always been easy, from being mistaken for the court reporter, or oh yeah,
Still up to this day?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
depending on the court you go into. I think that happened to me like 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
So
recent.
and it's not the judge necessarily,
Right.
Most judges, they'll just call your case and you stand up and identify yourself, but it's the people in the courthouse
First, employees.
Sometimes it's not happening as much anymore, as there's a lot more female attorneys, especially in the metropolitan area. But I think when you go out, you can still have some challenges. I think there's challenges as far as working with opposing counsels who are not female. But again, it really doesn't matter, because some women are nasty too. So, it just kind of depends. But the challenges are there. You just have to be aware, and you just I say, remain ethical and professional, and you can get past all of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have
wanna
another comment.
Well, we just want to thank, for those that are who have tuned in. There's Chetty, supporting you, that's family right there supporting. I love that. And then there's Sharika, there's Ricky saying this is very eye-opening. A lot of people thought having a will was all they needed.
Yeah.
But it makes real sense to make the investment in a trust. Very informative.
Yeah.
And so, we could go on and on and on, but I want to ask you another question here before we run out of time. What has been the most rewarding aspect of your career so far, would you say? I notice it. I know it's one of those questions, but I just had to, because you've accomplished a lot in your career.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, I really, I don't know if there's one thing, right? But I really, really, really enjoy being able to mediate now. I do. And having the experience, my litigation experience, and my experience just in general in dealing with people over time, and my own personal experiences, I think that mediation is a perfect culmination.
Yeah.
The job I really love is being a part-time magistrate judge.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, I like that. Tell us about
that.
Elaborate on that now.
Yes. A little bit about that.
She kind of split that in there.
She says her love. Yeah. I know more about your love.
So I'm a part-time magistrate in Gwinnett County. So I
Awesome.
sit occasionally, warrants, search warrants, garnish, anything. It doesn't really matter. But I feel like I'm, really part of that criminal justice system that I studied so long ago.
So some people may not know what that terminology
I was
means.
going to say, could you elaborate just a little bit? Just expound on that a little
They
bit.
may
So
not.
in Gwinnett County, not all counties, but in Gwinnett County, we have magistrate court, state court, superior court. We also have probate court, recorder's court, which handles traffic and ordinances typically, and juvenile court, which handles matters relating to children. So in magistrate court, it's a civil court where you can sue someone basically for up to $15,000 in damages. Over $15,000, it goes to state court. Also, magistrate court sits by designation for superior and state court on certain matters. We also handle garnishments. We handle evictions. We handle abandoned motor vehicles. We handle a gamut of things. And then at the jail, we have 4 courtrooms over there where we also handle arrest warrants, search warrant applications sometimes come to us unless it's certain crimes and they have to go to the Superior Court. We also do, if someone needs to apply for a temporary protective order, we hear those ex parte and then set them for a hearing. Someone wants to apply for, like a civilian can apply for a warrant. So they will come over there and fill out a warrant application. There we sit by designation for state court at the jail and hear probation violation hearings and sometimes pleas. We do preliminary hearings sometimes by designation. We do a lot.
That sounds a
whole
lot.
That's a
And you
whole
think
lot of
that
stuff
is
you
more
say.
less stressful?
Oh,
Oh, I love it.
Really?
What in particular do you love about
I
that?
love all of it.
You love all of
really?
it.
Wow.
Wow. Well, thank you.
That's
definitely for
interesting.
that.
I mean,
yeah.
wow, I like that a lot.
Yeah, I love practicing estate planning and I love mediating, but I really love being on the bench. That probably shouldn't have been said today.
No, but you know what? I like the fact
Yeah,
that
no,
you
but we're
said
learning
yes, you
so
said
much.
a
Yeah.
whole lot, and then you said about mentees because mentoring is a thing for me.
Yes.
Mentoring, I will tell everyone. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
Everyone needs mentors.
That's right.
I have mentors.
Yes.
I still have. I'll have until I leave this earth.
Yeah.
Because they're people that you're learning from. These are
Correct.
people that you want to be like them. You want to learn. So, I mean, really, before we close out, we need your information. So how
Sure.
can folks contact you?
Yeah.
So I'm on Instagram, Attorney Pat Mack, ATTORNEYPATMCK. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm on Facebook, Synergy Law and Mediation. And of course, my website, synergylawandmediation.com. So you can always book an appointment there. I believe they're showing my Blink card too. So I'm on
we
Blink as well.
are, Yes. Okay, great.
So I'm sure you have a team, right?
I do.
Yeah. So we have to big up Synergy.
Of
Big
course.
up Synergy
Yes.
and your
Yes.
team as well.
Yes.
Thank you,
So,
because
thank
you
you.
all do such awesome work, and we'd
Thank you
love
so
to
much.
be, the education that you have given us is invaluable. You gave me a lot to think about.
Of course.
So yeah,
Entire
definitely.
hour
Yeah.
dedicated
Yes.
to educating our guests.
so glad
And
we
I mean,
did the
we're-
hour.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Because I mean, we couldn't do this in a half an hour. I mean,
Well, I
what you
appreciate
have to
the
share,
time.
we
Yeah.
can't afford to pay for this. And for you to take
Yeah.
time, but
No,
this is
it's-
why we need people like you who are giving
great.
back to the community.
Yes.
And so we just want to, as they say in Jamaica, we all the oddies, big up again because
Thank you.
the thing is, thank you, the fact that you take the time out to educate the community, that's the key.
Absolutely.
That's the key
you.
because
Yeah.
each one teaches one, teaches
Yes.
the other. And this is what it is. And when we give it forward, as my mother would say, God just shower blessings upon blessings upon blessings. So I just want to say, that's what I'm sending your way. Positive
you.
energy and more blessings and
Thank you
whatever
so
it is
much.
that you
Received.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I
Yes.
appreciate
Yes.
it. Thank you for
Absolutely.
making
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in to Speak Harmony, building unity one voice at a time. Join us next Tuesday right here, live on YouTube, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as we continue learning from leaders who inspire through action and purpose. Until then, keep speaking harmony into your world. Thank you,
Thank you.
Attorney
Appreciate
Patricia.
it.
It's my
McKay.
pleasure. My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Meetings of the mind, where wisdom is shared. Tamara and Sharon, a duo prepared to light up the path, to bridge every gap. Access meets opportunity.